Welcome back in. Well, I can't say to the big show because this is the little show to the big show. There's so much stuff that happened lately before the All-Star break that our previous show didn't contain everything. So we got to do another one. We got to do a little sidecar episode for you.
Surely.
My partner, as always, of course, is the host with the most, James the Jet. And I, of course, am America's favorite bitch-ass white boy, CProc. Well, let's talk about the big story of the day, of the week, of the year.
Right.
We were just talking about how the Nets, they did just snap that losing streak, but they had lost. At the time we did the rest of the show, they lost 9 in a row. They wound up losing 11 in a row. They finally snapped that losing streak the other night on Valentine's Day. And
Jesus Christ, where's the love?
not in Brooklyn, I'll tell you that. And we were talking about, like, when are they going to blow this up? What's going to, is Harden going to leave? Is Durant going to leave? Is Kyrie even going to bother playing anymore at the end of the year? And sure enough, Harden starts chirping, says, I don't want to be here anymore. And next thing you know, within 36 hours, he's gone.
Yeah.
With some solid players as well, but the meat and bones of the deal is for another unsettled star in Ben Simmons, who had been wanting out of Philly. He hadn't played all this year. He'd been wanting out of Philly for quite some time now. So what's the instant reaction to this blockbuster?
Man, I think the trade is good for both teams, but I really think the Nets got fleeced. I mean, the Sixers got fleeced. They gave up James Harden and Paul Millsap. I mean, they received James Harden and Paul Millsap, but they gave up Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, who were two significant players for their rotation. And then they gave up two draft picks.
They basically pulled the Nets on the Nets.
On the Nets. So it's like, and James Harden, it just came out today that he missed the deadline to file the paperwork for his extension to stay with the 76ers. So I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if that was a strategic move from James Harden. Like, he could just walk after the season, but who knows?
So they could have given up Simmons, who granted didn't want to play there, and 2 starters just for Paul Millsap.
Right. But
and 2 firsts.
And 2 first-round picks for Paul Millsap.
One of which this year's is completely unprotected.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Philly's pretty damn good this year, so it's probably not going to be a very high pick, but still.
Yeah. I feel like immediate impact, James Harden for the Sixers is going to be immediate impact because the Nets are in a hole right now. They're missing KD. Kyrie's playing half of the games. Ben Simmons, who knows when he's going to suit up and play a basketball game if he's even going to play this season. But I don't know. I think right now the Sixers have it. They won the battle, but they're going to lose the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not quite as extreme as the Nets have been in the past, but the Sixers are definitely in that seat that we always talk about with you gotta win now or you're gonna be really hurting in a few years, because without those draft picks, and if Harden walks and Ben Simmons is a young guy, now he's gone, and Embiid always has an injury history behind him. He's been healthy of late, but definitely always a question mark, that they could wind up being from gold to garbage very quickly.
Absolutely. They have I feel like if Brooklyn healthy, Kyrie on the floor, KD on the floor, Ben Simmons on the floor, and then now with the added shooting of Steph Curry, they finally got a big, that something that they really needed. Well, 2 bigs, because Ben Simmons is 6'10", and Andre Drummond. So now they just gotta play. They gotta use a little different style of play. James Harden can now play how he's used to playing, 35 dribbles at the top of the 3-point line, step backs, you know what I mean? and he has a really good pick and roll partner with Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too. When you think about it, think of Harden's past teams. So, obviously start off as a sixth man with Oklahoma City, playing off of two elite wing players with Durant and Russell Westbrook. And then he goes to Houston and he's really by himself until Chris Paul came along, and Chris Paul was pretty much gone and there and gone before you knew it.
Right.
And then he goes to Brooklyn with Durant again, and Kyrie, who's a point guard, of course. So he really has never played with an elite big man, and now he has an elite big man to have this inside out game going on. So it's like maybe this awakens something in James Harden's game.
I think that one of the best versions of James Harden we've seen is with the Nets, where he's like, oh, I don't have to score 40 points a night. You know what I mean? I could just get 20 something, 22, 23, get everybody involved, you know what I'm saying? And, get triple doubles basically, or damn near triple doubles every game. I think that's the best version of James Harden. If he can apply that to the 76ers team, and they need playmaking, they need a dynamic guard, and that's what James Harden is. And if he could bring that to this team, they're going to be dangerous because they still have Tobias Harris, Thibault. They still have some players out there. Court Moss, the list goes on. But James Harden is I feel like he's like a plug and play player. You know what I'm saying? He could fit in a lot of different systems. It's just whether he wants to play there or not.
So a lot to look forward to and a lot to wonder if the crystal ball is going to have all lollipops and rainbows. But as where this trade took all the spotlight and the attention, rightfully so, there are some other significant trades that happened right at the buzzer. Which ones caught your eye first?
It's so funny that unicorns and wizards. Kristaps Porzingis is now a Wizard. He got traded from the Mavericks to the Wizards for Spencer Dinwiddie and David Bertans. That's a good haul for KP. I feel like they traded Latvian for Latvian because David Bertans is from Latvia. And he's they have similar games, you know what I mean? They're outside finesse big men. And Spencer Dinwiddie is a great point guard, and I think he should definitely help that squad out, especially if they lose Jalen Brunson in the offseason. Spencer Dinwiddie can fill that role.
Yeah, and we always kicked it back and forth a little bit that like KP came in, he poured in some points, but he wasn't really the B star to Luka's alpha dog that they thought they were getting. And Bertans, as you're saying, similar enough player, but not expected to be this like mainstay B star. So Jalen Brunson can keep doing what he's doing, complimenting Luka, scoring in bunches. And if Bertans can give like a small portion of what Porzingis was, then that's okay. And they're not really necessarily missing out on anything because he's obviously he's not the player Porzingis was anyway. He's just kind of a fill in the gap player of now they have a better expectation of what to take.
Absolutely. And I also feel like this is like Jason Kidd really finally kind of getting a fresh start with that team, because that's the team that Rick Carlisle and his staff they built. And you're not going to get rid of Luka because the type of player he is.
No.
KP was expendable, you know what I'm saying? And now Jason Kidd could kind of like, if he's given the right amount of time, really build the team how he wants to build it.
If you get rid of Luka Doncic, you should be run out of town.
Right. Yeah. I remember that was a thing for a little while. They were saying that like they were going to trade him, and I'm just like, why would you trade Luka? Like,
yeah. And Spencer Dinwiddie, he's a good backup to Luka. He's a good complement to Luka, like you're saying. If Jalen Brunson leaves, but he works in both capacities. He could be the spell. He could be a compliment, and he's kind of a similar playmaker to Jason Kidd.
Exactly.
back in his playing days. So
Yeah.
it's a very good type of distributor to have. So I mean, who knows what the ceiling is on the Mavericks this year, but solid pieces, like kind of addition by subtraction, maybe.
Yeah. So you wanna how about you? What's a trade that caught your eye? Or
Uh,
somebody the team that was making moves?
a couple actually. The Celtics moved a lot of pieces around. The red hot Celtics, might add. They've
Yeah.
been our whipping boy of throughout this year. But they've on a 9-game winning streak now, and
Fighting back.
they got and they got this kid Derek White from the Spurs, who I don't know, maybe just the Spurs have been so not that great lately, and I just stopped paying attention to him. I didn't realize this kid could ball.
He could ball out,
He's
yeah.
a solid 15 points per game, mid-level assists per game type of player. And they just picked him off for 3-and-D Josh Richardson, who wasn't even playing for the
Yep.
Celtics, and Romeo Langford, who was just kind of in and out of the rotation. Um,
That's a
and
steal for them.
yeah, and on top of that, not only did they get this kid that could ball and score, they cleared out a lot of extra hands that would have been on the ball in his place anyway. They sent off Dennis Schroeder to the
Yep.
Rockets with Project Bruno Fernando and Enos Freedom. So they just cleared off a bunch of guys that are more offensive players that like to score, and they bring in Derek White, clear off, like I said, clear off all this space. He could go run around, shoot, do what he got to do, and they bring back a former center there, Daniel Tyus, who I think they really liked. He was always a starter for them, big tough center. We've talked about in the past. We always liked him. We thought he fit well with them because he didn't need the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
He's just a body to beat people up, grab rebounds, play defense, give us solid hard 6 fouls, and just kind of get out of Brown and Tatum's way. So, I mean, I think, you clear all these guys that are ball scorers, and you replace them with Derek White. So you just kind of work this 3-man game between him and the 2 stars. And then you bring in Daniel Tyus, who's just kind of a role player, big man, fills a role, knows the system, knows the players, and kind of send off. Enos Freedom's a very good player, but he's an offensive center, and they don't really need any offense.
Yeah. I feel like the one thing about all Spurs players, right? At least the guards, they're all gonna know how to have some sort of playmaking. You've seen it happen with DeMar DeRozan when he went over there, and he developed that skill while he was over there. Now he's on the Bulls, and you see it's like it's really paying off. I feel like the same things happened for Derek Wright because everything ever since he got there, they're actually playing him at the 1 and playing Marcus Smart at the 2. That's like their starting lineup. And he could play make. You don't really need you could put the ball in his hands and trust that he's going to make the right play. And they have that all throughout the team now. With the addition of them bringing back Daniel Tice, it's another player, they could play small ball and still play 5 out. They could play 5 out with Al Horford. So I think they made a lot of moves that balanced out their team and helped with their spacing. I don't know. The Celtics look like they're gonna make a run in this playoffs. Right now they're in 6th place. Let's see how far they can take it with these new additions.
6 it's the top of the East is very dangerous, but it is still better to be in the top 6 than playing in these little playing games where you could get screwed over on a bad game and wind up not in the playoffs at all.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Spurs, though, they grabbed Goran Dragic, who was not doing anything north of the border, and got him from Toronto for Thaddeus Young. And I think this is kind of a decent move in both directions. Spurs, Pop always likes his foreign product, Euro point guards.
Yeah.
And Raptors, Raptors are a team that likes these tough kind of stretch big men. Thaddeus Young can go down, beat some people up, but he's got a little bit of a jump shot too. And I think this was a solid move in both directions. I mean, the Spurs aren't really going anywhere this year, but they gotta get some kind of identity for the future. And the
Yeah,
Raptors are trying to hang in the playoff picture, hang in that top six, or I think they're in the playoff playing tournament, though, if I'm not mistaken. And that, they need a little bit of extra toughness.
yeah. I think the Spurs are just like slowly building their stable of players. Because they got some players over there. They got Zach Collins, they got McBuckets, Jelante Murray. The list goes on. They got some good players over there, and now they got Josh Richardson, and they're just waiting until they get that one player that can help them get over the hump. You know what I mean? But when they do get that guy, it's I would like the Spurs are going to be back in the top of the Western Conference.
That's a good point. They're building up this really, really, really good role player cast of characters to support the next star, whoever that may be.
Yeah. Whether they get him out the draft or trade for him or something, they got pieces to trade. So
yeah.
Who knows? Dame could end up over there.
They could start up another every other year championship run in the future. Who knows?
And I'll hate the Spurs again.
Yeah. Oh, well, there wasn't only news from the trading front. There was also an additional all-star added. The aforementioned James Harden, of course, is nursing an injury, will not play in the all-star game, and will not suit up for Philadelphia 76ers either until after the all-star game. And the man replacing him, much deserved, Jared Allen, also much deserved. Cleveland Cavaliers getting a second all-star
yes, sir.
on this roster to pair with Darius Garland. And let's show a little love to Jared Allen. Double in his first full year with Cleveland.
Yeah, and they're right at the top of the East. I like what you did there. You said Afro mention. I thought you were going to tie that into Jared Allen. The Fro. No, he's having a great season. The Cavaliers are having a great season. They're surprising everybody in NBA being as high as they are. They're bouncing out of, anywhere from four to two, you know what I mean, throughout this season. And I want to see how far they can take it after the All-Star break, which is this weekend. So it's going to be very exciting. That's one of the teams that I'm like rooting for, because I know like they're like underdogs, all the way underdog, but they're really like showing and proving that, hey, we're here and we're for real. And it's good to see.
Yeah, I would, and especially because it's very much rising from the ashes type of thing. I mean, LeBron left them high and dry twice, not once, twice.
Yes.
And to have them do what they did with to pick off all these players from the Nets and and continue to get high draft picks, bring in someone like Mobley and just really turn it into players, really just turn into a power player in the East. It's kind of like refreshing to see a homegrown power team.
That also makes me wonder, like, what happens to Colin Sexton, though, because he's like the odd man out.
Yeah.
Due to injury, not nothing else, because he'll be out there if he was healthy, but they're playing so well without him. Do you try to go get something else to fill in a gap that you need because he's another guard? Like, I don't know. Do you want to keep that weird balance of players? Like, they run two bigs, run three guards. I don't know. Like,
yeah, and that's unfortunate because with the injury, like that, like you said, that really is the only reason why he's not in it. And it's just like, huh? What do we do with this kid now? That's a good problem to have. I mean, we're Knicks fans. We wouldn't mind having two elite point guards.
Come on, man.
Even if they were both hurt.
I'll trade both of Patrick Ewing's knee braces for two great point guards. We need help, please.
Anywho, that's us getting you up to speed. Stick it with us, and we will pay homage to a legend who's been gone for a little while now. Hoops Boys Podcast. Keep with us.
CProc. And right now, we want to just pay homage to one of the NBA's brightest stars. I'm just going to name a couple of accolades before I introduce who it is. 5-time NBA champion, 2 times finals MVP, an NBA most valuable player, 4-time All-Star game MVP, 2-time NBA All-Second Team, 2-time All-NBA third team, 11-time All-NBA first team. He has influenced the game in so many ways. He has created his own mentality that has been adopted by many players in the NBA, from Jason Tatum to Luka Doncic. All of the new great players have been touched by this player. And the player who I'm talking about, if you haven't guessed yet, is Kobe Bryant. It's been 2 years since his tragic passing, but the NBA will forever feel his spirit. I just want to ask you, partner, like, what are some of your fondest moments of the Black Mamba?
One thing I always loved about watching Kobe was one of the accolades you didn't mention, and that's how many times he was on the all defensive team.
Right.
Kobe dug it in.
No, he did.
It didn't matter who it was, whether, and like he would, and Kobe would like LeBron will say at the end of a game or in the fourth quarter in general, okay, I want so and so. You know, they're lighting up. I want to shut them down. Kobe would do that as well, of course, but Kobe would say, I'm going to do that for the whole game. And that's not something superstars do. That's also not something their head coaches put them in position to do, because they are, because that not just from it's from multiple perspectives. One, what happens if the person gets hot? What happens if, you know, Kobe does get in foul trouble and you can't play him? You might be up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. And the other side of it, even if he is on his game, he's not getting in foul trouble, just getting tired. I mean, if you have to chase around a LeBron, if you have to chase around Devin Booker, you know, towards the end of Kobe's career, they didn't overlap too much. If you have to chase around James Harden, you know, guys like that, Chris Paul, you know, that's not easy to do, especially depending on where their careers overlap. Like it might have been a Kobe getting up into his professional golden years versus someone a little more lean in the thighs.
Yeah.
That's the expression. I don't think it is. But so that, you know, that's not always the easiest thing to do, to just stay fresh and not be tired. And Kobe didn't care. He just did it anyway. So I mean, it's always fun to see him pour in these incredible amounts of points, but something I always loved watching Kobe do is just play defense, just dig in and lock people down.
Yeah. And speaking of points, that's another accolade that I didn't mention. He's a 2-time NBA scoring champion, as well as he scored 81 points in a game. 81 points in the NBA game. And when
didn't he not play for like a good chunk of that game?
Yeah, he was cooking them.
Yeah.
And they needed every point of that 81 points. I feel like Kobe's just, you know, when you think of an NBA player in a dictionary, like you want to describe to an alien what the best basketball player is, you know, you would show Kobe Bryant in his career, his work ethic, and him playing through injuries, him trying to will his teams to wins, and just the pedigree. Everything about Kobe screams NBA to me. And I think that's why so many young guys gravitate towards him and his mentality and how he approaches the game, and they try to emulate that as well.
And by the way, Jalen Rose is still having nightmares over that 81-point game.
Yeah, oh yeah, he'd never been the same after that.
I want to take a little bit of a different take, because Kobe passed on in that horrible crash, and this was it. Kind of like shook, kind of like shook a lot of the world. Not just the basketball world, but a lot of the greater good too, because he was starting to branch out his brand and his effect into other aspects of life, and
Right.
he and but sticking with the basketball sense, this is like this is like one of the most royal of hoops royalty. This is a basketball titan, just gone like that. And that's not something easy to get used to. But when it happened, within a month, we had this whole COVID situation, and sports just came to a complete screeching halt. And then they started to get back going, and then they went and the NBA went into the bubble, and the fans weren't around, and it was this really strange situation. Plus, you had all the social justice marches and that sort of thing, and the Kobe, and then it was, and then of course all the steps taken to restart the season in kind of a reasonable amount of time and kind of start getting it back to some kind of normalcy. And Kobe's passing almost kind of got like forgotten a little bit. And it's like, how can you forget Kobe Bryant? The fact that he's not here anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, I thought about that recently, and it's like Kobe's gone, and like his death just took over the news cycles for weeks and
Yeah.
weeks on end. And then all of a sudden we had this virus situation, and like the Kobe story was gone.
Yeah.
So
I feel like Kobe's passing was like the start of the worst 2 years. You know what I mean? Like,
it could have been.
yeah, it was like the start of it. Yeah, man, it's crazy, bro. At times I don't even know what to say about like the situation, because like you said, he was about to take off into a lot of different avenues.
Yeah, he
He was
just won
getting
an
into
Oscar.
he won an Oscar, he was getting into film, and I always loved his attention to detail, ESPN things that he did, where he was breaking down players and how they approach a game and stuff like that. I always thought that was amazing, and you could really see like he was a student of the game. That was it was his passion, and not only was it his passion, he was like great at it. And it's very rare that those two things sync up for people. And when it does like that, and you're playing the game that you love at the highest level, and you're winning, you going, Kobe's been to peaks and valleys with that Lakers team. He's played there 20 years. There was good times, there was bad times, and different, but Kobe's one of the greats, man. Top 75 player all time. One of the greatest Lakers ever. Some people would put him at the top. Kobe, man.
And on top of that, his daughter, who also tragically passed in the crash, was turning into the Kobe of women's sports
Baby
in her own
Mamba.
right. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
You think about passing it down, Kobe was a girl dad. He didn't have a son. So that for, his one of his daughters to kind of be the next Kobe, kind of cool.
Yeah. For sure.
Unfortunately, we don't get to see that.
Yeah. But for sure, rest in peace, Gigi. Rest in peace, Cobster. You have forever impacted the game. Your legacy will forever be felt throughout the NBA, because you have planted seeds in many players that are turning out to be real monsters in this league. Jason Tatum and Devin Booker, just to name a few. But
Do you think he's the closest that we got to Jordan?
Kobe,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think so.
it's kind of eerie. It's eerie to see, like, you can see that Kobe watched hours and hours and
Mhm.
hours and hours of just tape on Jordan. You know what I mean? Because the way that I was watching a video and they did like a side by side. You probably see this video as well. It's a side by side and it's Jordan and Kobe, and they're doing exactly like Jordan's doing moves and then Kobe's doing the same exact move, and it looks exactly the same. So like, um, I think Kobe really tried to model his game after Jordan. Mid-range assassin, uh, plays both sides of the ball. They're around the same height, same build. Kobe would jump out the gym. It's Kobe had everything, man. There was a point in time. I remember when it was like a bad time for the Lakers. They didn't have a lot of talent, but Kobe was going crazy this season. This is the time I think he won his first scoring title. He was going bonkers. Couldn't miss. Hand in his face, money every time. And he was like one of those guys. Like,
And that goes back to what you're saying about his work ethic before. I mean, people always say, like, especially when guys are making deep playoff runs and winning championships, they don't have an off season. Kobe didn't have an off season anyway.
yeah,
Season was over and Kobe's shooting 100 or a couple hundred jump shots a day in the off season.
yeah,
Just like the consummate gym rat.
nah, for sure. And Kobe has some of the for guard. He has some of the best footwork in the post I've seen. All
Yeah.
his series of fakes and spins and all that in the post. It was amazing to see. The legend. What? All right. So Kobe wore two different numbers, right? So
Who do I remember him as?
yeah. Or who's your more favorite Kobe? Kobe
Okay.
wearing 8 or Kobe wearing 2-4?
My Kobe is 8 Kobe.
8 Kobe, same.
Yeah.
I love 2-4 Kobe too, but 8 Kobe was different.
Yeah. 8 Kobe was just like the one that kind of change your perspective on, like, what's it like. That was before we really got to compare him to Jordan, because
Right.
it was still so early in his career. But at the same time, that was when he was doing things that were mostly closely related to Jordan. The lockdown D, get into the basket wherever he wants. Consistent, solid shooter from long range. Mid-range automatic.
Yeah.
And the tenacity and the clutchness in the playoffs. I mean, that
Yep.
was it the Indiana series
Mm-hmm.
that he basically took that to the finish line and won it by himself.
Yep.
Philadelphia going up against Iverson. I mean, the Nets series, of course, he had a wonderful series as well, but that was pretty much Shaq's series.
Yeah.
But the Indiana series, and that was his first finals, and he carried them because they were doing the hack and Shaq thing.
Yeah.
So Kobe won him that chip.
Yep. I feel like I don't know, man. I know they were advocating for Kobe, for the logo to be changed to Kobe, and I think that would be cool. But I don't know, man. Kobe left. The Staples Center isn't even a Staples Center anymore. Crypto Center or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Oh God,
Just,
hideous.
just like,
I don't know if people say that, and like I don't know if Kobe would have wanted that, if he would have wanted to be on the logo, because like he left basketball. He well, no, I shouldn't say that. He left the NBA. He left the NBA. Like he was still he was gonna like hang around if players needed him or whatever. But like
yeah,
he went off and did other things. Like he was focused on his daughter's career. He was focused on his, Hollywood actions and filmmaking, that sort of things. Like Kobe shifted his life focus. I don't know if he would have wanted to be on the logo.
yeah. No, I feel you. Yeah, I really would have loved to see like what Kobe would have did more in the realms that he was transversing in, like you said, film and stuff. It'd have been really because I know he would have or take that detail show more like what I mean, make like he could do content that can be like a every year multiple season thing because the NBA is always getting new players and stuff like that, and you could get an attention to detail on those players. You know what I'm saying? Or the top draft prospects. You can look at what they do in college, and he could do attention to detail on that too as well. It's just so many things he could have did. He's like to me like and like his play by play to me is like Tony Romo
Yeah,
in the NFL. Like he's
yeah.
calling stuff before it happens, and he's like, "Don't throw the ball," and you know what I'm saying, and it'll be a pick. And same thing with Kobe. Like he knows the game like the back of his hand, and he knows exactly what defense teams are running. And it was fun to hear him call games and stuff too.
Another underrated Kobe memory that a lot of people kind of glance over is his Olympics career.
Mm-hmm.
He only played in two games, two Olympiads, I should say. I guess terminology is not right because one of them's Olympic Games, one of them's Olympiad, but whatever. Um, but the Beijing Games in 2008, if I'm not mistaken, 2008. It might have the year wrong. Um, that one, those are he just owned those. Those were his first Olympics. I guess people must have been asking for years and years to play. He probably just kept turning it down because the Lakers rose in the finals every year. Not much of a transition, and he finally played in Beijing, and he just owned that entire tournament.
So yeah, partner, I think Kobe was a big proponent of the rebirth of USA basketball. Back back in Athens, USA kind of got embarrassed. We didn't win gold, and we should have won gold with all the talent that we had. But years later, the Redeem Team came, led by Kobe Bryant. Many people in the coaching staff, like Nate McMillan, they all said that Kobe brought that same Mamba mentality to the Olympics, and it really rubbed off on everybody on the team. And you've seen what they were doing to other countries. It was like wood to a buzzsaw, you know what I mean? Sawing through teams.
It's like 92 all over again.
Yeah. So it was that was for all intents and purposes. I was alive. I think I was alive on the Dream Team, first Dream Team. I don't remember what year it was. The first Dream Team. Well,
Hey, I'm not that much older than you, so
so
yes,
I think it was
you were.
I was alive then, but I was like to see the
babies.
Redeem Team, I was of age to really know what was going on and everything. So like yeah, bro. Kobe is Mr. Basketball for real. He's gonna be forever cemented in the NBA's history. He's part of it. He is it. He's Mr. Laker, whatever you want to call him. Kobe's one of the GOATs, as the kids like to say.
I've always hated that acronym, by the way.
What the kids have, the GOAT?
Goat.
Yeah.
Goat used to be a bad thing.
See, it's funny because I always knew that as like a good thing.
Yeah.
But you explained that to me though. Like I was like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But hey guys, thanks for kicking it with us on this mini show, mini check-in. We probably gonna do some more of these. The season is getting crazy. All-Star break is next week. This weekend. So I hope you tune in and come hit us up on socials and let's talk about the All-Star game and what's going on. Who you think is gonna win? Slam dunk contest, 3-point contest. This new and improved skills challenge with the Greek freaks. The 3 Greek freaks.
Times 3.
Times 3, the freak time 3. But yeah, hit us up on our socials at Hoops Boys Pod on both Insta and Twitter. Come chat with us. Until the next show, this is the Hoops Boys Pod. Peace. Kobe.
Kobe.